All right, everyone, now we turn to Arizona. There is good news to report. Yes, the Supreme Court ruling with regards to voter registration and proof of citizenship within Arizona, and partially upholding the decision to force the state of Arizona to verify that people are actually citizens before they're able to vote, whether it's by mail-in ballot or in person. I support this. It is easy for any U.S. citizen to get a state ID. Most people have driver's licenses. I find it deeply concerning that there are people out there who think that it's more difficult for one race than the other to figure out how to get a fucking driver's permit. You can use these forms of ID. Now, here's the thing. I do not support a national voter ID. We already have to carry around a fucking 1,000 IDs anyway. I don't support that. But a form of ID that shows your picture, shows your residence, shows that you are actually a resident of that state should be mandatory for voting. By the way, student ID should not be able to be used for this because there are out-of-state students that may get a student ID and then choose to vote in a state where they're not eligible to vote. I applaud the Supreme Court decision. It was a narrow one. The liberal justices wanted to shoot down the concept entirely. Gorsuch, Thomas, and if I remember correctly, Kavanaugh wanted to go further than the decision. It's a partial victory, but it's an important one. This represents the mostly defortifying of Arizona. Now, until this decision, I had said it doesn't matter if Trump is up by 5 in Arizona, and he is up by about 5 in Arizona, because Maricopa County exists. And so it's going to be insurmountable. He probably loses the state. With this particular decision, he actually has a fighting chance of winning there. He still definitely needs to be in the lead on Election Day in order for it to be a plausible victory. But he should definitely now attempt to target the state more. He should go to Maricopa, for example, and campaign a few times. With Arizona now being in play, that increases his odds of winning, in my opinion. I know that you've got some push polls and based on Kamala's massive ad surge, saying, well, North Carolina's now in play, Georgia's in play, and Trump can't possibly win in New Hampshire or Virginia or Minnesota or or Michigan, for example, or any of these other states. Don't get blackpilled. Don't be too worried about it. If everyone knocks on one door and brings that one reluctant friend to go vote, then, I mean, we can't help but have a victory here. Arizona is now in play. Now, does this make it likely that Trump wins the state? I would say it's 50-50. We need new polling, of course. We don't have as much contemporary polling from the state. We have some, mainly the pollsters are targeting the Rust Belt states. Arizona, Nevada, a few of those states, they kind of get left out in the dust, which I find unfortunate. I want more polling from Virginia, too, because that's going to be a squeaker. New Hampshire polling, it looks close. Certainly, it would be good to have more polling from places like Georgia, because that would lean red. Harris has tightened the gap there. I think she still loses in the end, and of course there is push polling going on, but does better than Biden, certainly. So we need more numbers. We need more statistics from these states. It's become very difficult for me to do my main job, which is poll analysis, when I don't have enough polls and you randomly, just a month ago, have a shakeup in the campaign, the likes of which we haven't seen in a generation. With the incumbent saying he's not going to run, the VP decides to run, they basically coronate her, then her opponent almost gets beamed in the head by a shooter. By the way, the other day Trump had to end an interview early because the security actually did its job and determined that there was a person prowling around in the general premises who had made death threats against Donald Trump. This is going to keep happening, by the way. They still are trying to kill him. This time they were not successful in so doing. By the way, multiple Secret Service agents actually getting put on furlough effectively because of their actions that particular day. The defortification of Arizona can't be overstated in its importance. A state that was not really on the table now is on the table. Does it represent a huge number of electoral votes? No. But we're probably coasting towards an election where unless some sea change happens, it's going to be reasonably close. I think that Trump will run away with it. I don't think that they have enough ballot printers to steal the election this time. Certain liberal commentators are warning people, don't get complacent because this is not necessarily in the bag yet. I happen to agree with them. I think that Trump has a much greater likelihood of victory, and I really hope that that happens because otherwise Kamala is going to destroy the U.S. economy. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I would rather people that follow me have money to super chat and aren't simply subsisting on a diet of cabbage and turnips all the time, like the fucking medieval era. That would be bad. It would be bad for them, and it would be bad for me. But while I think that Trump still has a much greater chance of winning, there's more work to do. Ballot harvesting, knocking on doors, getting people registered, etc. Now, thankfully, another state has opened up, like Pennsylvania partially defortified, Georgia almost completely defortified. Now you've got Arizona. That's the election. If Trump wins those states, then he's over 270. I still don't think that North Carolina is going to be particularly competitive. I know that you had one push poll the other day showing Trump with only like a 2-point lead or something like that. I don't believe the poll in any way. No, I don't particularly believe that one. We've seen a lot of weird polling, and right now we're still in a time of political chaos. It will still take a couple of weeks for things to sort of coalesce. Don't pay too much attention to the polls. Do pay attention to news like this, though. This is actually something meaningful. There's a reason why like a dozen people were sending me the news tip. I wonder why. It's because it's a good thing. This is wonderful. The Supreme Court's decision allowing the injunction of their attempts to allow, effectively, non-citizens to register to vote. Everyone should have to show that they are, number one, a U.S. citizen, and number two, that they are a resident of the state in which they intend to vote. That's all you have to do. Get a fucking state ID. It's not really that hard. You know, I've had a driver's license since I was a teenager. It wasn't that difficult. Yeah, it's difficult waiting in line at the DMV because it can take a couple of hours. Other than that, everything's hunky-dory. That's about all. Peace out.